The death of Orga sends a shockwave of emotion through the soldiers of Tekkadan. Still, they manage to hold their ground as their soldiers prepare to make a desperate escape through an underground tunnel, while Mikazuki, Dante, Akihiro, and Hush defend them against the forces of Gjallarhorn. And to make matters even worse, Gaelio and Mcgillis have a final duel to the death that will leave your jaw on the floor. Where do I even begin with this week's episode? Definitely one of the best episodes from the series without a doubt, and it had one of the most shocking mobile suit battles that I have ever seen. There was no way that I could have predicted that the battle between Gaelio and Mcgillis would have ended the way it did in this week's episode, and honestly I think the series is even more stronger for it, so I think it goes without saying, spoiler warning for the rest of the review. Also, for you hardcore Gundam fans, I just reviewed the 5th episode of Mobile Suit Gundam Thunderbolt, so make sure to check that out. I'll put a link for it in the description box below. But let's talk about this week's episode of IBO, which just blew my freaking mind. Let's get a couple of things out of the way. First and foremost, it was Noblest Gordon who had his goons kill Orga. He was doing this to save face with Rustal Elion, and now he gets to have access to his weapons because he's one hardcore weapons dealer. I'm really glad that this whole episode wasn't just everybody reeling over the death of Orga. There was certainly a lot of that at the beginning of the episode, and I have to say that Mikazuki's reaction to this is honestly what I would expect from the character. He's never really displayed that much emotion, and even here he really doesn't do the same thing. He's still carrying on the will of Orga, and he actually has this great moment where he gives this speech to Tekkadan about moving forward and still following his orders, and basically he gets everyone behind him, and that's the beginning of this big epic battle as the rest of Tekkadan is trying to dig underneath these tunnels. It's going to take them like 2 hours to get to the other side, while we have Mikazuki, Akihiro, Hush, and Dante who are going to be defending them against Gjallarhorn's forces, which of course leads to a lot of intense and hard-hitting action, and to one of the most shocking scenes of the episode, because this episode actually has 2 character deaths. And Hush Midi is killed in this episode, seemingly out of nowhere. I did not expect it at all, especially because at first it seemed like he was going to be saved at the last second, but he's fighting against these 2 Gjallarhorn mobile suits when one of them sneaks up behind him and just throws their weapon right into his cockpit, which completely just crushes his body. You can see the blood on the outside of the cockpit, and really, there's no way he's getting out of this one. And it makes me reflect on the character of Hush Midi a lot. I originally thought that he was going to be basically the next Mikazuki, like the next main character of the series, and for the most part, he was just sort of in the background the entire time. He was just another soldier of Tekkadan who had some skills with a mobile suit. But I feel like they didn't have enough of an opportunity to fully develop him, and yet even with that, I still felt incredibly bad when he died, as if he was a character who was meant to live up to a lot of potential and it was completely taken away from him. And I especially love how he doesn't feel sad about his death. He just tells Mikazuki to keep moving forward because he's got a lot of influence from him as well, and that's probably what Mikazuki would have done in the same exact situation. But it still is a very effective death. I mean, I think a lot of people are going to have some interesting reactions to it, and I can't wait to look at all of the reaction videos from this episode. It's going to be really fun. But yeah, just Hush Midi getting killed was just... I didn't see that coming so quickly and so bluntly, and it basically lets us know that these characters can die at pretty much just any second. And then that takes us to the battle between Mcgillis and Gaelio, a battle which totally lives up to the hype, especially because for the first half, we got this great scene where Mcgillis is basically challenging Rustal and his entire fleet by himself, and he comes in kamikaze style with this massive ship which just crashes into another one, and from the debris and fire erupts the Gundam Bale, and then he just proceeds to completely just slay all of these Gjallarhorn mobile suits in such an amazing fashion. And there's a lot of shots here that I think are really impressive. I especially love the one where he gets right next to this massive ship and takes the sword and shoves it right into the bridge. And you can see all of the detail of the sword slamming in, all of the air escaping, and all the bodies flying out before a massive explosion. We've seen beam sabers doing this before, but whenever you see it with a blunt weapon, it just has so much impact behind it. And really, that's one of the best things I think about Iron-Blooded Orphans, is the absolute lack of beam weaponry. We've only seen very small trace amounts of that in the series from the mobile armors. Most of the other weapons that are used are very blunt, and every single time they use them, it just makes everything everything sounds so loud and heavy and destructive. And it's just like freaking watching a train wreck in slow motion, watching Mcgillis just completely destroy these Gallarhorn mobile suits. It's a beautiful dance of blood. It's just great, man. And then freaking Gundam Kamaris Vidar comes out of nowhere, and that's when we finally get the confrontation between these two characters, which is basically just a knockdown, no holds barred, let's rip our mobile suits apart kind of battle. And I can't even do the animation any justice. I can just say that there's a lot of moments that I love. I think my favorite thing about the battle is not even the choreography itself. It's that Mcgillis is finally showing some damn emotion on the battlefield. He basically lets himself go and starts to become insane. He has these crazy looks on his face, and he's even excited over the prospect of Gaelio, like, giving it all, especially with the Ein system, which just makes him so destructive, to the point where the most shocking part of this battle comes when Gaelio defeats Mcgillis. Yeah, he actually loses in two different ways. The first way it ends is when the Gundam Kamaris Vidar just completely wrecks Gundam Bale, hitting him with his drill knee, taking out that drill and slamming it right into the cockpit of the Gundam Bale, which causes Mcgillis to have to escape, and he's got this huge chunk of shrapnel in his side, and he's slowly walking through this base, and he opens up this door, he looks up, and there is Gaelio wearing the Vidar mask, pointing a gun right at him. Gaelio wastes no time in shooting him, but he makes sure not to kill him, as he wants to have one final word with his friend. And this is arguably the most interesting dynamic of these characters, and the thing that I love most about Iron-Blooded Orphans, because Gundam tradition states that there has to be a masked villain, and 99% of the time it's usually a masked villain with an ulterior motive to take down some sort of evil kingdom or get revenge for the death of his family, a la Shar Aznable. This one sort of shook up the convention a little bit by giving us two masked villains, one who is obsessed with the other and one trying to get revenge against them, and a lot of that having to do with their very different personalities, with Gaelio being obsessed with friendship and camaraderie and the importance of family. Those are the things which give him strength. Whereas you have Mcgillis, who basically throws away his humanity in order to become strong, throwing away his friends and quite literally throwing them under the bus as well, killing them, going as far as to using them for his very own ulterior motives, while still at the same time, for some odd reason, still saying that he's going to love Almeria. And by the way, Almeria in this episode just makes it clear that she's one hell of a crazy bitch. She's still in love with Mackie, but we know that's not going anywhere now, especially after this episode right here. And Gaelio just begs Mcgillis to look at him, to recognize him, to see him as someone that is human, someone that was once his friend, and to let him know that he's not getting out of this scot-free, and he simply just wants to get his revenge. But right there, Mcgillis Farid dies on the frigging spot. I was waiting for the moment where he was going to betray Tekkadan, and it never happened. I love this aspect of the series because they made it seem like something like that was going to go down. No, Mcgillis Farid was just one crazy son of a bitch who was challenging a massive organization and getting revenge for the things that happened to his past and trying to reform this really fucked up organization, which is made even more clear with Rustal Elion and the things that he has done and the connections he's had, hiring mobsters to kill Orga and everything. Just so much going on in this episode, it completely blows my mind. And it's all done with superb animation, great pacing, and a lot of great callbacks to the rest of the series. Hell, even Space Hitler returns in this episode. But who wanted to see that douchebag again? Really, though, this was a fantastic beginning to the end of Iron-Blooded Orphans, which I still can't really predict what's going to happen. So, what's the rundown on this week's episode of Iron-Blooded Orphans? A perfect episode. From beginning to end. They handled everything so well. I'm glad they got through all of the Orga stuff. I'm glad that we got these final moments with the characters before they go off into their final battle. I'm glad they gave us a moment to decompress right before things just immediately kick to 11, because once that mobile suit battle starts, it's really the beginning of the final battle of the series, and man, it is just going to end crazily in the next episode. Also, it's really cool to finally see that mobile suit that was meant to be for Orga, the Shiden, which looks a lot like the Gundam Unicorn, and it's being piloted by Eugene, which I think is really fantastic, because I always sort of thought of Eugene as kind of like the second in command of Tekkadan. I mean, he doesn't have that like badassery that Orga has, but he's definitely been priming himself up to be the leader, or like the captain of the group in many many different ways, and he took a lot of influence from Orga, so it makes sense that he would pilot that mobile suit. That being said, we don't really get to see it do anything aside from stand around and look really cool, but maybe it'll play a bigger role in the next episode. I mean, we still didn't even really get to see much from some of the other characters, like even Akihira. And Mikazuki, while he was awesome in this episode, it's clear they're saving something really epic for him in the final episode of the series. This one right here, though, is just got so many things going for it, though. Like, the death of Hushmini, which just came out of nowhere, I'm still processing it, to be perfectly honest. It's still very shocking. I mean, it's not uncommon for characters to be killed in Gundam or anything, and even ones that don't even have that much character development. But the way they do the characters in Iron-Blooded Orphans, they don't really need to have entire arcs devoted to them for you to actually care about them. There's a lot of subtleties to the series which allow you to become attached to these characters. I mean, Hushmini's story was only elaborated on really, like, in his introduction. Right after that, he basically became, like, the secretary of Mikazuki, in a way. Like, he was just there. He was his assistant. He was there to follow him around and absorb everything that he could from him. And it was so... That's why it felt so bad that he was snuffed out in this battle, and, you know, you can almost, like, feel the fact that he, like, felt bad about losing in front of Mikazuki, yet he still told him to continue to move forward, and just something about that was just really impressive to me. I think the Gaelio Mcgillis battle speaks for itself. I mean, the animation alone was awesome, but, like, all of the emotional moments between the two characters was really good, and it was very shocking that Gaelio was actually the one to win. It's just... I can't wait to see how the series is going to come to an end, especially now that the only real obstacle left is going to be Rustal Elion and his crew. Something is clearly going on with Julieta as well. I don't know if they're going to have her pilot some sort of crazy mobile suit that we haven't seen yet. You know, even Gaelio is still around. There's a possibility for him to do something good too, so... It's going to be one hell of a finale, to say the least. I will say that this episode was draining watching it, and I mean that in the best way possible. It shocked me to my core, like, the entire time, and I was constantly, like, grabbing at what little hair that I had, like, during those final moments when Gaelio was actually defeating Mcgillis. Like, that was shocking me to death. Like, when he was walking through that area and bleeding out, I was like, is this really happening? Are they really gonna do something this bold? And then when I saw Gaelio on the other side wearing that mask, that was such poetic justice, because, of course, Mcgillis is always wearing a mask. He's doing that to hide his actual motives from his friends, so for him to just be there and do that was just such a great moment. Man, this season right here has been nothing short of awesome, and I cannot wait to watch it again with friends. I'm already rewatching it with another friend, but whenever I, like, see a series that I really like, I like to share it with a lot of people, and that's what I'm going to do with this one right here. So, I'm just rambling on at this point. I mean, you guys know this episode was good. You know I liked it. I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5. But yeah, I just cannot wait for the finale. But most importantly, I want to hear from you guys. Make sure to tell me what you thought about this week's episode of Iron-Blooded Orphans. What did you think of the battle scenes, the sudden deaths of favorite characters? What do you think is going to happen in the finale? And do you want to see more Iron-Blooded Orphans in the future? Or are you ready for something new? I mean, it's already been announced that there's another Gundam anime coming out in June by the name of Gundam Axis Twilight, not to mention Thunderbolt just started up again, and it's only a matter of time before Gundam The Origin comes back, and if we're all lucky, we'll get that third season of Gundam Build Fighters. You guys know what I'm talking about. So, please tell me your thoughts in the comments section below. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel for all things Gundam anime related. Please leave me a comment or two. I'd love to talk with you guys about this week's episode. And if you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, please give it a thumbs down. I'll see you guys next time. And as always, stay dandy, baby.